period.
Oftentimes I ask people if you could have an hour with one athlete just to pick their brain, who would it be, living or dead? And then the question as we go around the classroom, it comes back to me. And I always say, it's Muhammad Ali in 1968.
Picture George St. Pierre being faced with a decision: do this, or your title is gone.
You don't want to go in the army? You can't fight here.
Sidney Crosby: do this, or you are out of the National Hockey
League. He was his own man, as simple as that. This was a black man in civil rights era America, going against the white man establishment, once again pissing them off and not caring about it. Took amazing courage, incredible courage, but that was what Ali was. This was probably the first and maybe the only athlete to ever completely transcend the sport.
For Ali to say no to the US government, when he did, at the peak of his powers, heavyweight champion of the world, most of America couldn't figure it out.
I remember thinking about how much of a social pariah he was in the U.S. at the time, and how when he came here, he was quite warmly welcomed.
That's where history was hinged on Ali going from a sports figure to an extremely relevant and important social figure in America.
He said he wasn't going to go fight in Uncle Sam's war.
To go and fight a war on behalf of a country that you're oppressed by seems like a bit of an oxymoron.
My conscience won't let me go shoot my brother or some darker people or some poor, hungry people in the mud for big, powerful America and shoot them for what? They never called me nigger. They never lynched me. They never put no dogs on me. How can I shoot them poor people? Just take me to jail.
Faced a lot of scrutiny, especially from the mainstream community, from people who thought maybe he wasn't patriotic.
He became popular and he became the guy, but he wasn't so consumed with you loving him, right, that he didn't stand up for what he was believing. Quite the contrary. He was willing to risk, right, all of that who he was to stand up for what he believed in.
And they called on him 3 times in that court in Houston that day when he officially told the US government to take off. And he said, I'm not enlisting. I'm not doing it.
For the whole world to love you one day and then the next day hate you because they title you a draft dodger, that's, you know, that says a lot.
My name is a white people, not Viet Congs or Chinese or Japanese. You my opposer when I want freedom. You my opposer when I want justice. You my opposer when I want equality. You won't even stand up for me in America for my religious beliefs, and you want me to go somewhere and fight, but you won't even stand up for me here at home.
The greatest quote perhaps ever in sport, in the sport political divide, was,
no Viet Cong has ever done anything to me.
I got no quarrel with the Viet Cong.
I haven't got any quarrel with the Viet Cong. And like, no he didn't, and no one really did either. He was right. At the time, obviously he was vilified for saying that and for his stance, but in the end, looking back, 30, 40 years, he was right, wasn't he? So he spoke the truth.
In the end, usually people that move society forward and push the boundaries of society are always looked at as deviant. And when we look back at the history books, we realize that they weren't deviant. They were actually very positive people.
He wasn't quiet about anything. He was abrasive. He was out there. You saw him. And it's not fair to other people who were just as socially active, who weren't as vocal. It isn't a fair deal. But Ali's stage was just so much bigger.
This is a guy with no education, yet he could speak to an audience of thousands of students and hold them in his hand, just like he would thousands of fans in a stadium during a fight, holding them in his hands.
It was a politically charged climate at that time as well. And a lot of people hated him for it and resented him for it, but I don't feel like he blinked an eye.
Muhammad Ali had to go through 4 years of shit to get to where he wanted to be. A free man in America, allowed to do what he wanted, when he wanted to do it.
Without doubt, the most famous athlete in the history of the world. Wasn't competing really in his prime before, and then coming back as strong as he was to win such famous fights. I mean, everyone knows the Rumble in the Jungle, of course. That came after it missed 3 years. It's staggering, and it just showed the brilliance of the man as an athlete. And also, up here as well, how he could be so disciplined to get back in that training regime.
His belief in himself and just his ability was just so great that you can't hold him down. You couldn't hold Ali down. And whether it's 3 years, 3.5 years, 10 years, I really believe that he just was so powerful and so beyond, you know, his competition that it didn't even matter how long he was away from the sport.
At a time where he was told to just go into a corner and shut his mouth and let the lawyers do their work, he got more loud and more public, with nobody except Khalila really having his back. That's an amazing thing to me.
It's strange. You try to kill each other, you become friends, so.
Muhammad Ali, why was he vilified during his prime? Accused of committing a capital crime.
The
ultimate moral paradise.
But in hindsight, to his name, we toast. Maybe it was the brags, the boasts, the melodic quotes.
People at the time found him strong but uptight like a rope. But Ali was no dope.
Ali was no joke, but rather his aim was to cleanse our souls like soap of the cultural bacteria that
had blacks and whites eating on opposite sides of the cafeteria.
He refused to go to the opposite side of the globe to kill people he didn't find as foes.
But now still stands despite the non-stop shaking from his fingers to his toes.
Stands as the most recognized man on the globe, Muhammad Ali.
I wrestle with an alligator. I tussle with a whale. By the handcuff lightning, throw thunder in jail. I'm bad, man.
So at that point, whether you like it or not, you become an individual of influence, and you want to leave a positive influence on those who come after you and those who are around you. You got somebody that loves themselves, right? How many people you know that love themselves that you actually love, right? Who actually spend that much time gloating and bragging about themselves. How many people, when people brag about them, they make you sick. And Ali did do that for some people.
Last week, I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make medicine sick.
The reason he had so many followers, and even those who maybe weren't big fans still appreciated who he was, is because his conviction.
What he was more important than what they told him he should be.
He had courage, not only in the ring, but courage in his everyday life. But he did things in a way that no one else could do, and he could say things that no one else could say, and it was widely accepted.
Guys wanted to be that. They wanted to show that confidence, that swagger, but when you couldn't, and you had somebody that was out there doing it for you, and you couldn't really outwardly cheer for him because of your surroundings, because of the political climate, because of the situation, but after the fact, and you look back on it, you know, it makes you proud.
I think of that one word, pride, and representation of self.
When I think about Ali, that's what I think about. Is the first thing is his strength of character, and I think that's really goes hand in hand, and why he was so successful, and why people, you know, are attracted to what he did and his story.
I'm not out to set no example for nobody to follow. I'm just sticking to my religious beliefs.
There's a scripture that says, out of the overflow of the heart, the mouth speaketh, right? And so what I believe that you saw him personify is represented in the depth of the soul of who he was as a man, who he is as a man.
I think people can stand up to him now and look up to him eyeball to eyeball and say, Ali, you know, you came from a very different part of the world that I came from, but I respect you because no one knew who he was more than you did.
When you can be ultimately entertained, right, and then, right, cheer for someone who actually has a backbone, who believes in something and is willing to stand up for what he believes in, that's why he's the greatest.
No matter what you think of Mr. Muhammad Ali's religion, you certainly have to admire his courage.
I know where I'm going.
I know the truth.
And I don't have to be what you want me to be.
Hey, I don't have to be what you want me to be.
I'm free to be what I want.
That was Ali. I will do what I want when I want. No institution, no man, no race will keep me down.
And that is just brilliant. It completely personifies who Ali was. His own man, didn't care about what his country told him he should be.
That quote kind of encapsulates the way he conducted his career, for better and for worse.
I don't have to be what you want me to be. I think that is something that we can all look at and all be influenced by.
I'm free to be what I want. Muhammad Ali. That's basically it, isn't it?